Meet Keith, loving dad, board game champ, bus driving pro.
I drive 65,000 miles in my bus each year. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. Like how there are some things I simply can't see. On my route the other day, a car tried to sneak past me and ends up right in my blind spot. I turned slowly, so accident avoided. But no car should be in the blind spot for a 40,000-pound bus. It's our roads. It's our safety.
Visit www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Welcome back into Cougar Sports Saturday, 12:22 KSL time down here in downtown Salt Lake City. Mitch, football season, it's underway. I know some people may be questioning it with the weather outside, but we were able to go to football practice earlier this week. And big story this year is the new defensive coordinator for BYU, Kelly Poppinga. First year as the DC, but he has experience with BYU. He has experience being a coordinator, coordinating the special teams unit the last couple of years. And that's one thing I keep leaning on, where BYU special teams really ramped up. I mean, they were having kickoff returns for touchdowns, punt returns for touchdowns. Will Farron was fantastic. It felt like the special teams unit was always prepared, and I feel like that's going to be something that's going to carry over this year for this year's defense.
I think it's a good point, and Kalani Sitake pointed out that Kelly Poppinga, probably one of the hardest working coordinators he's ever been around. I thought that was high praise because Kalani's been around a lot of coordinators in his football career over the last, quarter century now. Kalani's been coaching for a long time, since 2001 or 2002, excuse me. So he's been around the block, and he's been around a lot of coordinators in his coaching career, and he gave a lot of high praise to Kelly Poppinga. And K-Pop caught up with DJ and PK on our sibling station, the KSL Sports Zone, and talked about the influence of learning from Jay Hill the past few years to help him get ready for this defensive coordinator role.
Jay's awesome. I learned a ton from him in 3 years. He was a huge help for me on special teams too as well. Really good coach, really good person. I learned a lot from him as far as how to manage people too as well, how to manage players. He was exceptional at all that stuff. But at the end of the day, like I've told this to everybody, I mean, Jay learned it from, at the same time Kalani was learning it. They both learned it from, Gary Anderson, who's in the building with us, and Gary learned it from Kyle Whittingham. And, there's this whole tree, and I feel like I have access to this whole tree. And, Jay and I still talk, and we were out golfing at this Pebble Beach deal, and we were, talking through stuff. And, we didn't sit back and watch, Self-Scout together. We watched it, while he's at Michigan and I was here. And it's funny, we had a lot of the same conclusions from what, could have been better from a year ago, and who played better than we thought, and who could have, maybe played a little bit better. But anyway, it was pretty interesting to just get that feedback when we'd been in separate rooms and kind of came down to the same ideas. But I just think ultimately, like, to have Kalani, to have Gary, to have DeMario Warren, to have Lewis Walker, all these guys have D-coordinator experience, and just to have all that around me, I just feel blessed to have a bunch of good people around me.
How fascinating is that? Back at Memorial Day weekend, K-Pop and Jay Hill just unpacking the season. Jay Hill with Michigan now, and K-Pop, the new BYU DC. To be a fly on the wall in that conversation, that would have been epic.
It's got to be a little awkward, right?
Well,
maybe
considering they go now head-to-head for recruits. I mean, Jay Hill and Witt are, like, let's call it what it is. I don't think anyone locally probably should want Michigan to have much success.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everyone likes Jay Hill around BYU. Like, how can you not? Jay Hill was a stud. I think he's going to be really good at Michigan. But the last thing you want is for that program to really take off and become a national title contender, because the bread and butter of Whittingham, Jay Hill, Jason Beck, they're going to recruit the state of Utah. That's where a lot of their inroads are and recruiting are. So you don't want those guys to really have a lot of success, because from a resource standpoint, Michigan is going to have a lot of resources to throw money at people. So, but still, I think there's a respect there. I mean, this is these guys' business. So I think they put those feelings aside that maybe fans feel. But I think K-Pop's ready, and Jay Hill was an excellent defensive coordinator for BYU. Honestly, you could look back and say maybe one of the best defensive coordinators in the history of the program. I think that's on the table there for what Jay Hill accomplished at BYU. But I think Kelly Poppinga could take it maybe to a higher level, because he's ready for this role. He's got more than a decade of experience coaching. I think he's primed and ready.
Yeah, and I think I like that he brings up the coaching tree too, because that can't really be understated. It's just the impact of having mentors who you can rely on if you got questions about certain, schemes or whatever, you can always reach out to these guys. I think Jay Hill would be willing to help him out because they're not even on each other's schedule. So I understand off the field they're going to have a lot of head-to-head battles for recruits, but on the field I don't think there's going to be that much of an overlap until maybe you hit the playoffs. But he's also got connections with like Bronco Mendenhall. Bronco Mendenhall's a defensive genius. He's been in the industry for a long time as well. When he was at Boise State, he also had at Andy Avalos. So he's been around the country quite a bit, and I think that really bodes well for him because you'll hear conversations about Morgan Scalley, for example, who was at Utah for 20 years. I think there's benefits to being at the same school for that long, but at the same time, you don't have the same connections you do nationally. When Kelly Poppinga is coaching for Boise State and he's coaching for Virginia and he's coaching for BYU, like you start to rub shoulders with people in different conferences in different parts of the country, and I feel like that's going to really benefit him because BYU is going to be able to use that to their advantage when it comes to recruiting and when it comes to being able to collaborate with different coaches just during off season. We always hear about the off season coaches meetings and being able to brainstorm about whatever they talk about. So I completely agree. I think he's ready. I think there's been too much of – look, I understand Jay Hill's a really good coordinator, but I almost think he's been given a little bit too much credit for BYU's success the last 2 seasons because even in 2021, BYU had a fantastic team, a fantastic season, and that was Alessa Tuiaki at coordinator. And that wasn't a Jay Hill team. Jay Hill took over in 2023, and I think people – They put the rise of BYU's football program since joining the Big 12 a little too much on Jay Hill and not as much on BYU's now a Power 4 team.
And Kalani.
And Kalani. Kalani's a fantastic coach. Kalani doesn't get the credit he deserves either. And I think that was a frustration that a lot of people expressed when he was being courted by Penn State. And it's like people try to maybe discredit what he's been able to accomplish. But at the end of the day, look what he's been able to do in his 10 seasons at BYU now. Like BYU in the mid-2000s, they would be able to rattle off a win against Wisconsin, and they would be able to hang tight with UCLA in the Rose Bowl when they were top 10. But he's taken them from a 2015 team that they were fine, they were serviceable. I understand they have a freshman quarterback with Tanner Mangum, but look where they're at now, where they're expected to be at the top of the Big 12 conference. And if you had told any BYU fan that 11 years ago, they would have thought you were crazy.
Yeah, no question. And I think, too, with the last time Kalani had to hire a coordinator to replace someone who had left for another program, that was when Jeff Grimes left for Baylor. He hired Aaron Roderick. A-Rod, it's sometimes been mixed results, but I think A-Rod has also put together some really good offenses and some good quarterback play that's got BYU in this position as well. Could they level up again with the defense? I'm very excited for Kelly Poppinga. And to your point, he will be prepared. And I think he has that nice balance of being able to be a coach that can connect with players, get them to play super hard for him, but also buy into the scheme, buy into the vision, and play for something greater than oneself. So I think Kelly Poppinga is going to do a really good job for BYU. Let's take a break. We'll get to possible conference realignment. Yeah, we'll hit on that next.
Baby.
Let's go.
We all have routines. I'm Jabron, and with diabetes, mine was finger sticks. Sometimes I skip them because they hurt. The Freestyle Libre 3CGM changed that. It gives me glucose insights without finger sticks. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
Finger sticks are required if your glucose alarms or readings do not match symptoms, or when you see check blood glucose symbol for the first 12 hours. The views expressed should not be used for medical diagnosis or treatment as a substitute for professional medical advice. Individual circumstances may vary. For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.